Geddy and or Alex, they mentioned that they have hundreds of nicknames for everybody. So how did Jack Secret come about? Thanks again for taking time out. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'm not driving, and pedestrian animals aren't at risk, so...
It's been a while, a few weeks anyway, I guess a couple of months maybe. So have you guys started rehearsals for the tour?
No, the rehearsals will start in July.
Oh, okay.
And we'll fly up about the middle of July.
So you're saying initially you meet with the other staff before the band gets there, is that right?
Yeah, we come in 4 or 5 days before the band. We actually get together with the band. And it's the basic backline crew, the monitor crew, Donovan and Liam, and a few other people that are either on the tour or have to do with preparing stuff for the tour. Like Jim Burgess, he works on a lot of the samples, all of the samples that I use in the show.
Oh, okay. Now, one thing I noticed when watching the Time Machine Blu-ray was when Geddy's triggering sounds with the pedals, it seems like they're programmed to like the first few pedals, is that right? Or does he have like a preference of which ones he uses for particular songs? Or
he has a preference as far as certain parts, such as bass parts, where they'll line up on the pedals. But a lot of it has to do with being able to reach that at the time that it's needed to be triggered. And during rehearsals, they'll play the new material. They'll try a variety of methods in how they're going to trigger these samples, such as, Alex may play a part that Geddy's not able to get at. Neil may play a part to where neither one of them are able to get at. Whatever easiest, and for the most part. But Geddy basically takes on most of the sample triggering, and it has to deal a lot to where he's able to get to that trigger at time. And of course, he has different preferences where he would put bass notes and horn notes and small sequences and whatever.
Yeah.
He has a formula that he works out himself for that.
Yeah, I got to watch Alex more closely in the tour coming up because, I mean, most of the time I'm just like glued on. I'm usually on Geddy's side anyway, but Alex seems to do it a little more slyly.
He's more stealth, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the pedal board in front of him for all of his guitar changes and stuff, but he has a lot of stuff that he's playing during the show, as well as Neil. And Neil has his own sample system now set up, whereas in the past, I used to feed him certain samples where he would trigger samples off of my rate. But now he has a totally independent system set up for himself, and he has Lauren Wheaton who takes care of all of his sample things. And if we move samples onto his machines that are non-drum relating, if he can trigger them.
Ah, that's cool. So on their older songs like Free Will and YYZ, does he play the same way he's always played them, or does he ever like invent, easier way to play those notes, since it's all MIDI now and it doesn't necessarily have to correspond to the notes on the pedals?
No, not really. I mean, we trigger the old material like we initially triggered it because that was the easiest way at the time that we found to do it.
Yeah.
So why change over something that's not broke?
Yeah, cool.
The thing that's become a little easier has been able to stack certain samples and stack phrases on one note as opposed to putting them over several. But it's still all, real-time triggering, and the longer the phrase, the more danger it is of falling out of time. But these guys have been doing it, like I said before, for so long that it's second nature.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, how they do that without click tracks, and it's pretty incredible. I mean, I don't think most of their audience, appreciates that.
It impresses me every night. Let me tell you. I'm still not tired of it.
Yeah. I had a question about patch changes or using different synths through the years. I noticed for a while, like the trees and subdivisions I guess in the late '80s, maybe it kind of changed up until maybe 10 years ago. Did Was that just the kind of synths he was using for those parts, or did he just tweak the sounds, or?
No, we might have modified some of those sounds. I think one of the masters we weren't able to get sounds from turned up missing, which means it didn't turn up at all.
Yeah.
So I think that might be what you're talking about. I'm not real sure, but on some of the pads and stuff, and we've had a little problem with the Mini Moog over the years of reproducing that. But I think we're right on that now.
Yeah, I noticed the last couple of tours. I mean, they sound more like the original than.
Well,
maybe.
that's thanks to the Moog people and the little fatty that we've been using in place of the sample. And there were a few times where we did bring the Mini Moog back out, but it's so old.
Yeah.
It's really not up to it that much, especially with the amount of traveling that we do.
So, do you plan on using the Taurus 3s at all?
No, we haven't gotten into the Taurus 3s simply because I don't think he has experimented with them a lot, and the use of that particular keyboard isn't going to really complement what we're doing or what's going on stage.
Yeah.
Because basically we used the original Taurus and loved the original Taurus for its sound.
Uh-huh.
The Taurus and the tube and the bass sound, all very, very exciting. The Taurus 3s come close to all that, but we've managed to be able to sample those to where that we're able to reproduce that without lacking. You know? So there's a lot of features on the Taurus 3 that we would just have no use for.
Huh, interesting.
Sequencing stuff, the MIDI stuff that we wouldn't be able to really use it.
Huh.
Different presets.
So, speaking of older gear, I mean, whatever comes of the old vintage gear, they just kind of go in a warehouse somewhere, and then when they record, they just kind of dig that stuff out, or?
Yeah, a lot of it's stored over a while, and then some of it has been donated to various schools. Some has been sent off to the equivalent of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Canada.
Very nice.
Which incidentally lent a lot of that stuff to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland for a display.
Uh-huh.
I guess they wanted people to see it because of the rumors. At any rate, a lot of the stuff is auctioned off for charities, and the band is into a lot of different charities that they contribute to.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, I wrote the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a scathing letter about how horrible they were because bands like Rush and Kiss weren't in the Hall of Fame, and they wrote me a big long letter back explaining what the process was and everything else, and how it shouldn't be bent out of shape. And
I don't think the band has been out of shape,
yeah,
over it. I'm certainly not. I know there's a lot of fans that have written scathing letters. To me, myself, I remember selling the Rolling Stone when I was a teenager, many moons ago, when it was new. But it looked like a real paper. But it wasn't a magazine.
uh-huh.
Actual paper. You felt like you were reading something. And it was mostly political back then, along with a lot more political, I think. Well, I don't really know. I haven't read Rolling Stone in many years. To me, in the music industry, they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
They don't matter. Doesn't if we're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think it's their loss.
Do you have a favorite road story or something that is memorable or funny?
I have many, many, many favorite road stories, none of which I can tell you.
Okay.
All I know, it's been an amazing adventure to spend the majority of my life with these people, traveling, seeing sights, and experiencing audiences all over the world.
And now I know they have. I know at one point Getty and or Alex in one of the interviews I was listening to, they mentioned that they have hundreds of nicknames for everybody, that they're associated with. So how did Jack Secret come about?
Well, yeah, when I joined up on the crew, everyone had their nickname, including the band, several of them. They were trying to come up with a suitable nickname for me. They came up with Obi-Wan Farouk as my nickname. And this was greatly influenced by the Star Wars movies being out at that time, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was one with the wires, the connection they were trying to make. And, to me, that just didn't fit well. I mean, I just couldn't, it just didn't roll off the tongue the way one would expect it to. So, nobody was calling me that. The nickname was still elusive, and people were trying to figure out what it is they were exactly going to call me. There was a promoter party in Texas, actually a label party for the reps, and the band and the crew was invited to this thing at, I think it was like a Hilton hotel. And I remember going in, they were filling out name tags so that, went up, told them who you were, they gave you a little name tag, and you put on, and that way when these various record execs could come up to you and they can call you by your name as if they knew you.
Yeah.
And, would ask you, various questions like, which one are you in the band?
Right.
What do you play? My question always back to them was, how are the record sales in this area? What kind of promotion stuff are you doing? I'm not real sure right now. We'll get back to you on that. Having had this vibe in the past, having seen everyone performing the way they do when they come backstage to the dressing room, I just came up with, I didn't want to know my name, so I came up with Jack. And I said, and it was quite amusing because, and unexpected entertainment for myself, as various people would come up to me and greet me as, hello, Jack, which one are you? So I kept that for a while, and then one night it just, Secret just came to me. And I went up to Getty and I said, I now have a nickname. I actually don't remember when that was.
Yeah.
It was in the beginning, but I have no idea when.
Yeah.
I do remember it being that radio party.
Right.
Held.
Was it something like the scene in the Spinal Tap movie where they're meeting at the top of the building? Wait till you see the cover. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite as silly as that.
Okay. Do you have duties when it comes to basting chicken and corralling Barbie groupies and making feeding the sausage machine on stage, or are you too busy with doing the samples and all that stuff?
No, those responsibilities fall on basically Scully, the bass tech, and he does a great job of making sure that all of the machinery is working and the sausage is rolling. Any loosening of screws or whatever that may go wrong, he's usually right in there making sure that it's taken care of for the show each night. A very valuable member. And a great person, I might add.
Yeah, that's cool. You mentioned the last time we spoke about you were writing a book, and how's that coming along?
Oh yeah, that's coming. It's got a working title for it.
Yeah.
It's To Serve MIDI, and it's kind of a recipe cookbook. It may require a little translation, but for the majority, I think we'll get the gist of it.
So, just how you're using MIDI?
Yeah, well, you don't really have to read it. It's really kind of hard to explain. Like I said, it's a working title, To Serve MIDI, and it's it's more or less a cookbook of sorts.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it and reading it.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you have a shop with some of the guys out in Vegas.
Yes,
And
that's been my latest project. I got together with Alan Dreyer, who's an excellent guitar luthier, and we rented out a space in a lockout studio, a 24-hour lockout studio. Basically, it's a building with a lot of rooms, and they give you a key to the front door and a key to your own room. But you can do whatever you want, as long as you pay the money every month. And Alan had just come out of a working situation with a music store on Fremont Street. That he had opened it right at the beginning of the bubble, the recession, the bust of the bubble. And they tried to make it go a bit for about 18 months there, and then finally decided that he couldn't deal with it. It was a retail, and he was doing repair work. So he started doing that out of his house for a while, and I believe it was around, November or December of 2009, he called me. They asked me if I would be interested in coming in to the space that he had, basically a 16 by 18, room, and do some amp and keyboard repair. Since the economy here was just god awful.
yeah.
I sent out resumes and applications to everyone, and didn't get anything back. Really started hurting for a while, so I jumped into that with him, and we've been there now 3 years, and business is doing rather well.
Cool.
I had to bring on somebody when I went on the 2010 tour, Ed Agapian, who is an amazing tech. I mean, he's older than me. His knowledge of really early electronics is very extensive, and he literally fixes everything. I mean, I've seen him working on watches, computer, everything from toasters to the latest digital modeling amplifiers. He's got quite a good work ethic as well. I mean, he gets it in, gets it out. People are real happy with his work, with all of our work, actually. So I'm excited about that. We're trying to grow bigger. What I'd like to do eventually is maybe get some majors, select majors out of the ULV.
So that's about all I have for questions.
Yeah, nothing.
I'm kind of excited because they're starting the tour in Manchester, which is right down the road from me.
Well, and I imagine I'll be seeing you. The actual first date's in Manchester?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't. I don't have the itinerary memorized yet, so my main focus now is in July for when I go up and do the rehearsals. Mm. For all of our start tours, whether it be indoor or outdoor, is that we will, there's the initial 1 month of band rehearsals where it's just the band and the crew and the monitor guys to get everything right. And the reason it's that long is because of all of the mapping of the new material. And they, lately and more, they've been wanting to play more of the new stuff off of their works.
Yep.
They do. And then, of course, there's all of the other, hour or 15 minutes of the show that has to be, with the older material. Mm-hmm. So it takes a while to put everything together, do it right. And then we move on to another location, usually, a sound stage or a venue that's large enough to hold our entire show. Uh-huh. And we'll do up to a week's worth of rehearsals with the entire show. And at that time, Howard's getting his lighting, focusing in together, and getting everything that he needs and figuring out how the programming is going to go. He'd been working with a tape prior of the set before we all come together, and usually after our rehearsal, which ends before 9 or 10
Yep.
at night, usually, because what we try and do is we try and put the show on. We do the rehearsal at the time the actual show goes on, so that get used to the time frame as well. And then Howard will work from that time until 4 or 5 in the morning with his crew doing the focusing, because he needs silence and stuff in order to do that.
Wow.
And then after about 10 days of that type of rehearsing, we move to the venue. So everything's ready to go. No surprises.
Now, between Alex and Geddy, I mean, is that during the rehearsals they kind of know what instruments they want to play on what songs, or it's just is that pretty well set in stone once the tour starts, that type of thing? Alex is going to play his 335 on this song, and Geddy's going to play...
No, they have their preferences. That's all sussed out during the actual band rehearsals when we first get together inside. Pretty much, if they're going to use something that they use in the studio or going to use something different, it's all based upon their personal preference. But yeah, before we leave, or before the first couple of days of rehearsals, they're pretty well set into what instruments they're going to be playing. He has his main bass,
Yep.
On certain other things where he needs a different bass, those changes take places. But no, they're well organized in all of that.
Cool.
All the gear, everything is sussed out in the very early part of it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it could be quite interesting this next tour.
Yeah.
Some surprises there, I hear.
Yeah, I heard whisperings at one point that they're going to have an orchestra, and
I think I heard that one too.
Yeah. I don't know, and
tuba? Come on.
Yeah, a tuba, that'd be
You don't need tuba. Whatever it is, it should be should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I got good seats, and I'm jazzed that it's the first day of the tour, so very cool.
Yep, that'll definitely be a one to remember.
Yeah. Thank you again for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I hope I was coherent this time. And I wish you well with your business as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You in Manchester. Okay, Terry, you take care.
Thanks, you too.
Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.